All right, welcome to the next level. As we announced this week, we had a special announcement here today. So I have the president of Family First Life, Shawn Meaike, with me. How we doing, Shawn?
Doing amazing, bro. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, dude. I appreciate you hopping on. I know you're traveling around the country, working like crazy. But we had a special announcement last week. We announced that we would be back at the Irving Convention Center, but I wanted to bring you here this week so you can give everybody some great news.
Well, first of all, thanks for letting me get on, man. Yeah, man, it's been amazing coming out of convention. We had unbelievable production coming out of convention, serving families. What we put on the books over the last few days is nothing short of amazing. We set another record. Company's been around for 11 years. We set another record, but I do have some information. So we are doing it at the Irving Convention Center, like Mike said. So we'll be the exact same place, January 28th through the 31st of 2026. But we have an early bird special that we're going to have going for the next 7 days. You don't want to miss it because, like, if you like to save some money, and here's how it's going to work. The next 7 days, starting now, the registration link's up. Mike will get it to you. I'm sure it'll be on here. We'll send it out. You can click on it. The VIP seats, which gave you the meet and greets, we have an amazing speaker lineup we're working on for next year. We can't get there yet because it is a year out almost, and they're sometimes weird about the contracts. But the people we're talking to this year was amazing, from Tim Grover to Eric Thomas to Dion. Obviously, we always got Dave Anderson. It was an amazing group, and this year I think you're going to be as excited, if not more excited, what we bring to the table. VIP seats for 7 days. They're usually $999. They'll be $799. Premier, we did I think over $500,000 or $600,000 in lead giveaways at convention. Those seats up front, instead of $299, they're $199. And then the general admission, which is $99 for 3 days, is going to be $49 over the next 7 days. So just saying, you should get everybody registering your team. There'd be no reason not to. We're not going to continue to extend that. That'll be for 7 days only. But get yourself registered. Get yourself there. If you were at this year's convention, and if you weren't, ask somebody. When we were wrapping up Saturday night, Deion Sanders talking, after 3 full days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, if you think people might leave early, there were no seats. There was not one seat in the building that was vacant. If you weren't there, ask. It was completely packed out. We couldn't have brought in 10 more people if we wanted to. So you definitely want to get registered early. It will sell out. I told everybody it would this year, and it did, and it will again next year. So don't miss out. Take advantage of the early bird special, please. We can't wait to see you again in Irving. Everybody love the convention center, love the location, love Dallas. So if it ain't broke, we're not going to try to fix it. We're going to go there again.
Absolutely. And hey, one of the things about the leads, in the past we gave out restoration leads. We gave out $1,000 voucher you can use for any type of lead, and that will be the same next year at that event. But coming off of this past event, Shawn, someone asked me a few days ago, like, what was my feedback about the event overall? And my it's almost cliche to say this, that it was the best event ever, because we say that every year, but I do believe that. But for me, there was so much new blood there. There were so many new agents. Like the meet and greet, we had over 1,000 people show up early for early registration Wednesday night. And Shawn, if I recognized 5 or 10% of them, that was a lot. Just a lot of new agents, a lot of excitement. But so I was curious, kind of ask you the same question. You were on stage a lot. You did a lot with the meet and greets. You interviewed the keynotes. I mean, you're all over the place. But what was your feedback? This is now our 11th event. We've been doing this for 11 years. The first event, we had less people than they had at the Spanish convention this year. And we had over a couple thousand people here. What was your take, feedback from this event?
Mike, listen, I do echo what you're saying. I think that, every year I do think we work hard to make the events better, and I do think they get better, right? The energy at this year's event and the excitement with the people that were there, when I say it was better than ever before, it wasn't even close. And I think that you looked around and you saw people where you're like, man, he or she's excited about the business. They seem focused on what they want to do. We had more people speak this year than we ever have. Right. We've never done that before. I've never set the agenda. We had that many people speaking. I think that's a testament to the strength of the company as well. I think nobody likes to go to an event and hear the same 15 or 21 people speak year after year after year, especially if they're no longer, like, they've been around for a long time, but you're like, man, they may not be doing some of the things they're talking about. We need to hear from the people that are actually doing it. And you know, so I think that made it one heck of an event. I really do. I think that how just both the main event, I mean, the Spanish event, I think they had 300 or 400 people in there.
Right.
I mean, and the energy across the board in each event, how excited everybody was. You know, I've been to events and different companies back in my day, and you know, it was a grind for people to be there, and you could just tell. And this was the exact opposite of that. So I think the information was unbelievable, the energy was unbelievable, the people were unbelievable. And I just think, from, like you said, from the day the meet and greet started till the day Dion got done, the minute he got done talking and got off stage, and you know, he said something to me in a podcast afterwards, which is like a testament, I think, to what we do. I said, man, you were unbelievable. You changed a lot of lives out there. Mm. And he said, we changed a lot of lives out there. You know, and it kind of hit me. I was like, man, we always at FFL, we're always, when somebody's like, man, look what you did. No, look what we did.
Right.
Man, we really appreciate, you know, what you did to launch the company. We launched the company. Like been able to, just because, you know, the insurance carriers don't have a business unless there's agents selling life insurance. You know, Family First Life doesn't have a business unless there's agents and clients. Like it's a cumulative effort, from somebody that writes one policy here to somebody that writes, you know, the number one producer, you know, or the number one recruiter to somebody who recruited one person. You know, everybody's a valuable part of the team. And I think just like sitting there talking to him about it and the way he thought, and I'm like, man, that's cool, because that's kind of what we do at FFL all the time. Like it's not a one person deal. And I think, Mike, you also get to see the numbers come out of convention. And, you know, yes, we've, you know, even leading up in the convention, we were setting records for families helped for the week. You know, America, where we were doing, you know, 200 apps a week in a good week the first year. And now we're, you know, we just almost eclipsed 8,000 this past week. You know what I mean? Just as one company. Yeah. And you start running, you know, 20,000 applications a week. It's like, it's mind boggling, the difference we're making in people's lives. And I really liked all the talk about, because I think for me, no matter I was in real estate, waste management, life insurance, I wanted to know what I was, you know, what I was netting, what was I making? Mm. And it didn't mean it was always the best year, best month, or best whatever for me, but I wanted to know. And I think when you look at the amount of IUL premium that's being sold, we know the persistency on those products. We know what we're able to do, what clients are able to do. We know what agents are able to do for their families. And you start talking about what they're doing and what they're making. And also the beautiful thing about convention for a lot of people is, you know, I always tell everybody this, and I mean this, whatever, I don't care what business it was. I don't care if it was athletics. You know, if I had a terrible week and we played 5 games, but now it's Friday, dude, like, that doesn't really matter. So, you know, the thing, and I was one of the guys from the, you know, the Super Bowl winning team, the Eagles, and he had said, I think it was Brown, I think it was a wide receiver, Tony Brown. He said, man, I thought, like, when I won the Super Bowl, like, that was going to be it. Like, I just can't, like, I couldn't believe it. And he said, but I realized after, like, a little bit of time, I mean, like, hours, it's the grind that I love. Like, I can't wait to get back to the grind.
Right.
So, like, yeah, we won the Super Bowl and it's great. And he goes, I just thought it would be like the most euphoric thing forever. And then he's like, I just kind of looked around after a little bit and was like, man, let's get back at it again. Like, I love the grind. I love, you know, competing with my guys. I love being in the locker room. I love doing those things. And, you know, Mike, I felt a lot of that at convention. And I felt that even though some people may have had an unbelievable year, they're on their grind. You know, some people that didn't have the year they wanted to. Well, okay, but that year's over now. They're on their grind. And I think the beautiful thing about what we do is when we're grinding, we're protecting families.
Right.
That's the thing that's never lost on me. We're you know, Dion said that also after we got done, before we started the podcast. He said, man, you know, you guys make such a difference in people's lives. Like, what you do is so amazing. And I was like, thanks. He goes, because, you know, coming from where I come from, he said, we didn't talk about life insurance. Like, I didn't know people, you know, he's like, I go to funerals all the time and nobody has any coverage. And, you know, it was really neat to just listen to him talk about watching us from the outside, what kind of difference we make in people's lives. So, man, I was proud, Mike. We always come back and go, what can we do better? And we'll never have a convention where we go like everything was perfect. We know there's things we're going to improve on. But it was one heck of an event, and I appreciate everybody in the staff, every staff person, everybody that helped out, everybody we had at the convention center, from the security folks to the vendors. Everybody was unbelievable, and it made it such an amazing event.
Absolutely. Coming out of the event, one of the things that you've always been big on is momentum, right? And you talk about the Super Bowl team. It's like teams get hot, and once they have that momentum, they're hard to stop. But once you lose it, it's hard to regain. So we came out of convention. We had a record-breaking first week. But to everybody watching now who was there with us, or maybe they weren't, how do you continue that momentum from now? Because it's a year away, right? And a lot of people set goals at this event. Maybe you hit Hall of Fame, maybe you didn't. One of my favorite things is hearing the stories of people that went to the event and just missed out on something, like didn't get an award, didn't hit Hall of Fame, but it motivates them that much to go out and do it the next year. But how do you create and maintain that momentum from now to this time next year?
Mike, my thing is I want to see everybody win. And running the company as big as we've got, and I really enjoy being at convention because I get to see that many people walk across stage and that many people speak. Because, Mike, I never did less when I had more, and I never did less when I had enough. And I think that the struggle with momentum for a lot of folks is a lot of us are really, really, really good at fighting when our back's against the wall. Like, we work more, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, my back's not against the wall anymore. What do I do? And my deal was I always default to work. I had an old football coach that said default to aggressive. You're on the football field, man. If you're going to have a default, it can't be running and it can't be unaggressive. Like, you have to be aggressive. I always default to work. So no matter what's going on in my business, what's always allowed me to maintain momentum and not lose it. And I'll tell you, for 11 years, I've not lost my momentum.
Right.
It doesn't mean things have always been great, but I've always defaulted to work. Like, these things aren't going the way they're supposed to be going. Work. This isn't going to work. Like, so, and Mike, you're right. And I've always said it because I've watched it. I mean, when you slow down, and I had a guy ask me this morning, he said to me, how do I better manage my attitude through the ups and downs? And I said, well, first of all, every entrepreneur has to figure that out. So, like, that's not it. How the market cornered on feeling that way. Everybody's felt that way at some point in time.
Right.
I said, but in my 30 years as an entrepreneur, I've never had a bad day. And he looked at me and I said, it doesn't mean I haven't had a bad day, but I've never, to the people I work with, I've never, you know what I mean? Like, and it's all perspective, right? And, and Dave Anderson, one of the things I think I like the most about Dave Anderson is he was the one. I was in a meeting 15, 16 years ago, and a guy was talking about, things going on in his business. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. And Dave looked at him, looked at the 3 or 4 of us that were with him, and said 100, and I don't remember the exact number, 54,721. And we just all sat there. And he said the number again. And I'm like, I don't even know what he's talking about. Like, I think he's losing his mind. He said, that is how many people die in America on a daily basis. You weren't one of them. Act accordingly. And I was like, dude, that's like right up my alley. I'm the kind of Mike, right, in the office. I'm like, but did you die? You know what I mean? Like, I love y'all, but we got to. And I think for me, momentum is challenged when you allow negativity to creep into your mindset and you have this attitude of what you can't do. And Mike, we've worked together now 14, 15 years. I don't remember, unless it's like, if you ask me to write code and we're doing tech, you wouldn't ask me to, you can't do it.
Right.
But if it's something I'm able to do and it doesn't require a specific skill set, you've never heard me say I can't do it.
No, not once.
Never. And you never will either.
Right.
Because if I'm able to do it and it's just resilience, hard work, attitude, I'm going to do it. And it doesn't mean that every single goal I hit or every day, every week, but I'm eventually going to win because I default to work. And I think a lot of times the reason we lose momentum is we're having a tough time and we default to whatever, unplugging from the business. We default to, I'm going to call 3 people that I know are going to be great with being negative with me. So I'm going to call them because like they're great to talk to. They're going to be negative with me. You know what I mean? Or I'm just not going to, my mom said I can't do it. So I know I can't do it. I don't believe in myself. I know I can't. I knew it wasn't to, and your mind, you start spinning. And if you default to work, you can't do any of those things. Right. So work saved me because it didn't allow me to think too much. It didn't allow me to try to commiserate. It didn't allow me to seek out negative opinions. It just didn't. When I was in real estate, and real estate honestly was, it took a long time to get your license. There were no leads. There were a lot of things about it that weren't all that desirable as far as building a business or scaling. But I never, when I was in it, was like, here's why we can't do it.
Right.
I was always like, we can do it. You know what I mean? Like sphere of influence, call the people you know. It wasn't ideal, but it's all we had.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times all you can do is what you can with what you have. And I think a lot of times we're looking for this utopian situation. And, when people say to me, man, you know what it's like? I was doing this, or I was talking to a guy the other day in a meeting with about 50 guys. And he's like, well, I just had some bad leads. And I wasn't mad at him. I'm like, dude, I've never had a bad lead. Not in life insurance or real estate, waste management, construction materials, name, piece of paper, phone number. Like I never had a bad lead. But that's how I look at it, though. It doesn't mean you have to look at it, though. I'm just telling you that's how I've been able to maintain my momentum.
Yeah.
And also, that doesn't mean you have to do it that way. I think that's a struggle for a lot of people is they're so busy telling people what they have to do. I'm not. I'm just telling you what I did.
Right.
I'm not telling you what you have to. You're your own person. You're gonna do what you have to do. I'm just telling you what I've done. I mean, it's that I always go back to, I've used this analogy with you a bunch of times. I've not found a better one. And I went to college, got a master's degree. Studied some business, have a degree in psychology. But you watch that movie American Sniper, and that dude does not get down on the ground and go, "Get out of my way, I'm a Navy SEAL." He's like, "Hey man, I know y'all are door kickers. You're like bad. You're tough dudes."
Right.
But I might know some stuff that will keep us above ground. That's all he says.
Yep.
And they're like, hey, dude, any SEAL's good with me. Go ahead. But he doesn't come down and go pull rank or this is who I am. He's like, I just might know some. And that's all I tell people. I've been in business for 30 years. I just know some things that might help you out. I may have stepped on those landmines. That might put you in a really bad spot. I'm just trying to help you out. And it does not mean that it's the answer. Right. It's just that's the answer I got. It's what I did. So, Mike, I think I'm respectful of momentum. I know how bad it is when you lose it. And, man, I know how hard it is to get back. And I'll leave you with this on that question. If you've lost it and got it back, please remember what it felt like when you didn't have it. Like if you had it, lost it, worked your behind off and got it back, please don't let it slip again.
Right. You mentioned Dave Anderson. I think it's safe to say we could probably announce that Dave will be back.
It is safe. If I could read the message Dave sent to me,
yeah,
about I can't because It's not. It's Dave is it's got some F-bombs in there, and it's other than that it's really hardcore, but it's good. But he sent it to me about how excited he was and where we're going in the company and what he's pumped up about. Dave Anderson's going to speak every year because he's direct, he's transparent, he doesn't speak down to anybody,
right?
And he's tough but uplifting. And I think part of that, when you listen to people, I'm always trying to hear what they say without a doubt, but why they're saying it that way and why it works. So every time I listen to anybody like, Deion Sanders and Eric Thomas and Tim Grover, like I'm looking at it and saying, all right, I hear what they're saying, but why are they saying that? And then how do they deliver it? And I think, Dave's helped me understand that leadership style where you can be really direct. You can be really challenging, right. But the people got to know you genuinely care about where they're going.
Yep.
And so, I can guarantee Dave will be back. We got a whole, I don't want to announce, but you and I were talking yesterday. We got some pretty huge speakers. You won't be let down. and we're really excited about, putting some offers out there, and then they get back to us and we see what we can work out. We got a couple we're definitely not going to invite in because I didn't even know anybody could charge that much to speak for an hour. I didn't even know that like you could do that. So I was like, like, wow. So, but anyway,
couple of things on that. One, we did a survey and early results. We always ask, favorite speaker, favorite keynote, and as of today, Dave Anderson is winning that poll in the survey as the best speaker. Yeah. And you're talking about these guys charging too much. Almost, you used to say this, like, don't ever get into this mindset that you've arrived, right? So, you talk about the momentum, but what about someone who they kicked ass last year? They came in, won a bunch of awards. They're on cloud 9 right now. That could be dangerous, though, right? Like, how do you prevent that from getting to your head and not, having an off year because maybe you thought you were untouchable, you thought you were so great? Back at the old company, you won awards, you were the number one guy, but every single year you were consistent. So how did you kind of combat that idea of like, I'm so great, I've arrived?
Mike, it's funny because I'm not a guy that's like going to talk to you about high school and college sports because that'd be weird. That was a long time ago.
Right.
But I learned business and life lessons. And, I had a coach who I respected, and a lot of the things I learned growing up were from coaches. I mean, those are the guys that were in my life, and my sophomore and junior year, we won a state title in baseball 2 years in a row. And our senior year, there was probably not one person on our team or in the state or in New England, for that matter, that thought we wouldn't win a third one in a row. We were better the third year than we were the first 2 years. And we were number one the entire year. I think we went 21-1, and we lost our very first state playoff game to the lowest seed. So in our bracket, the amount of people made it, we were number one. They were 16. They beat us like 6-4. Now, a good friend of mine did boot the ball twice and throw it over my head once, so he didn't help us. But we still love him. But Mike, I'll never forget afterwards, my coach said to me, not an hour after, but a couple of days after, he said, what did you learn from that? And I gave him an answer, and he just said, he kind of looked at me and he said, remember, anytime in your life when you start reading your own press clippings or start convincing yourself that, and he said, you have arrived, that there are people working really, really hard when you're at top to get you. Mm-hmm. When you're on top, everybody's working hard to get you. People love building people up. The only thing they love more is breaking them down.
Right.
They love to break them down. Me, I don't want to see anybody broke. I'm not like, that's not what I want to do. I'm just kind of like, I don't live my life, but there are people that they love it. So he said, you got to, when you want to go out there and win, remember, everybody's gunning for what you have. So don't ever drop your guard. He said, we all dropped our guard at the same time, and look what happened. And that we could have played them 900 out of 1,000 times. We would beat them 999. We were just that good, and they were not. But that day, with a bunch of guys that believed the game was over before it started, and a team that this was their state championship. This was the biggest game they were going to have. They shouldn't have made the tournament. And, and you talk about the old company, and I remember people would be like, oh, my God, you did that. The minute I got that award, dude, I kind of feel like the guy from the Eagles. Like, okay. Yeah. But the part I love was the grind. Mm. The part I love was the leaderboard starting all over again. Like, that was the part. And you can't be number one at everything. I loved competing on the recruiting side, but I wasn't the number one recruiter.
Right.
But I still loved competing. Like, I could still want to be, 12th instead of, top 1,000. I could still want to be top 5. Like I just wanted to compete. And if you don't want to compete, that's okay too. Like, I think that's the other thing you have to realize. You have to figure out what makes you happy and what you want to do. Because I think a lot of times early on, we get so focused on, there's one way to do it. And that's not true.
Right.
There's multiple ways to do this and arrive at the same place. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think you see a lot of companies nowadays, they're trying to micromanage everybody. And that's why I think people love working with Family First Life, because as long as what you're doing is like you're abiding by every insurance law there is, like, life's good. Like, however you're building your business, as long as you're doing it legally and ethically, like, life's good. We're fine. Like, go ahead, build it however you want. And I think that we, the thing about the awards, Mike, is I never stopped to read my own press clippings, if you will. Like, And I also know I'll never forget what it was like. I'll never forget my son being really colicky, not being able to take regular formula. He had to take Alimentum, which was like this white and like pinkish can. And I think it was 40 or some odd bucks for a small can. And I remember being in Stop and Shop and thinking, I don't like, if I have any less money in my account, I'm gonna have to steal this. And I will steal it to feed my kid.
Right.
But like, I'll never forget when I was in the lowest financial place I was in ever. And I think a lot of us, we were not raised with money. So I don't know where we get a little comfortable, and it's like, dude, I can understand if you've never had to work for it ever. And I'm not judging anybody. If you haven't, I mean that. Like, I can understand that. Like,
Right.
if you were the most gifted athlete in the history of the world, never practiced, and then like you did really well, but then eventually you got drafted and now you're a professional athlete, I can understand. I'd be like, I get it. Like he's never really had to work hard. Like now he's in the pros and but he never had to. I can understand that. But like, if you've always been grinding or you've always seen people grind or you've never really been financially well off, once you start making money, wouldn't you remember what it was like to have none? And wouldn't you work as hard as you could and work your ass off to not go back there?
Yeah.
So Mike, that's how I viewed it. And awards to me were just, I appreciate recognition. I'm thankful for the people who recognize me. I never made light of it. I was like, cool, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I mean, any gesture where they bought me an award, no matter what it cost or what it was like, I appreciated it. But once they gave that to me, I was like, all right, I'm good, man. Like, we're on to next year, right? Like, and it starts tomorrow. You know, Mike, we'd be done with those meetings like on a Sunday, and I'd be dialing on the way home, driving on a Sunday in the
Right.
car.
Oh yeah.
Like, dude, we're like, we would be taking lunch breaks.
Yep.
And dialing during lunch.
Or at the airport, I remember we'd have a layover, you and I and a handful of the people in the corner just dialing on the floor, leads spread out because we had no choice. Or to your point, we didn't forget where we came from. We knew where we had at that point, but we didn't want to go back there. So we would fight, tooth and nail to avoid that.
Yeah, and I think that was the culture we built. I mean, you're building a culture one way or another, whether it's you're the only person on your team, it's 10 people on your team, 2 people on your team, 1,000 people on your team. You're building a culture, good or bad. It's a culture. And I think for me, anytime we had extra time, Mike, I was like, and I also always thought, man, I might have already made X amount of sales this week, but these 5 guys with me, they haven't made any. And I could sit here at the airport and eat something and watch a game on a TV, or I can just go dial somewhere against the wall because these guys need to be dialing.
Right.
And sometimes when you're doing it to help motivate other people and inspire them, and it's not about, well, I need to make the sale to buy this. And you're like, but I want these guys to like do well. And if I'm working and I'm not where they are financially, like I've been at this long enough where, thankfully I'm in a little bit better position and then I get in a better position. But it was hard for people to argue, like when you listen to, and I did love his talk. He was the last one we had, but when Deion Sanders said about his mom, somebody said to me, well, that was his why, to make sure his mom never had to work again. I said, dude, his mom never had to work again the first time he signed a contract.
Right.
The first NFL Major League contract, whatever the first one he signed was, she never had to work again.
Right.
So you're telling me now that he was probably 20, and now he's like 56. So for the last 36 years, dude, he did that 36 years ago.
Right.
He's just kept grinding because it looks like he loves to give back, loves to coach, loves to make a difference in people's lives. He seems like he likes to work and grind. I think a lot of us find purpose in that. So then the guy was like, I didn't think about that. I'm like, yeah, dude, that was his why to get to that level. But why did he keep competing when he got there? Why did he want to play 2 sports? Why did he then go coach? Why did he, he coach his kids? Okay, well, now he's not, but he's still there. So it's like, what is driving him? And he said to me, he's like, this is just something that I love to do. Like, I love to coach. I love to be involved. And I think, for me, I'm the same in our business. Like, I love it. And so it's hard to not want to grind at it. And I think, I was at a meeting with a really big insurance carrier recently. Oh, it was NLG. I don't know. And the CEO got up, and I was waiting for him to get up and start talking about the years and reserves and the health of the company and AM Best. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just was waiting for that. And one of the things he talked about was their focus is to not lose their grind. Is as successful as they've been from a production standpoint, and like the number one, I think, distributor of IUO products in that space, and like they're still grinding and working.
Right.
And I was like, as soon as he said that, I just kind of went from I was there, but then I became real present. And I was like, I started taking notes. Okay, this is real life stuff. Let's talk about what are you doing at your CEO level with your company? Because usually it's not about that. And it was about service, and it was about why are they doing it. And so, Mike, I'm the same, man. The don't get caught up with your own press clippings.
Yeah.
You talk about the convention. America invited me to their awards, and we'd only been in business for 3 months. And I sat there and watched other people get awards, all these agents and IMOs, and we had literally been selling them for a couple months. So obviously it was the year before,
Right.
and we started December 12th, 2013. This was for the year 2013. So I'm sitting there in March of 14. We didn't sell it, but we sold for like 10 days in the year, so we couldn't have obviously gotten anything. But I'm sitting there going, even though I was only involved for 10 days, I don't want to be sitting at this again without seeing all the people that we work with getting awards and doing the things they do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, you got to find what drives you. You can't lose momentum. You do have to have your why, whatever that happens to be.
Yeah.
And I do think that you have to figure out when I'm not with my back against the wall, what the hell am I going to do? Will I get up on a daily basis and go to work, or will I not?
Yeah. Well, dude, I appreciate you leading from the front for years. It's funny. You always get these questions from certain managers, like, how do I motivate my people? Well, I can speak from experience that knowing and watching you go out and do it first, anything that you asked us to do, you were already doing it. That's how you motivate your people. There's no special talk. There's no special book or training. It's just go do what you expect the people around you to do. And it benefited all of us, right? We sold insurance, we made money, we helped families. So I want to thank you for that. And also, you're talking about this Deion Sanders interview. I know you won't say this because you're humble, but it was a phenomenal interview. And so if anyone here wants to check that out, that's on Fully Loaded on YouTube. Great interview with you and Deion. It was amazing. We had a lot of good feedback on that. But Shawn, appreciate everything you do, leading from the front for all these years. Looking forward to hitting $1 billion this year. I mean, it's going to be our biggest year ever. And I think it starts with an event like this. And you're like, well, why do I have to sign up now? It's about making a commitment. It's about committing to you, committing to your business, having some skin in the game, investing in yourselves, because I don't know many people that go to one of these events and don't do more than next year. I know the people that don't go won't do more than next year. This is a great launching point. Starts almost like a reset for us every single year, and we see that with the volume and all the families that we're helping. So, Shawn, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, and Mike, real quick, first of all, thank you for all of it. That was ridiculously well said, and I appreciate what you do and the corporate staff does and how you lead them, and not just convention, everything you do on a daily basis. But I want to say this because you said something that's ridiculously important. A lot of folks that join the business are in the business for a while. Why do clients not buy at times? They're afraid. Are you being direct with them? Is it the right product? Agents are the same way. And you alleviate people's fear by doing. The reason I went and did those things I was asking you and showing you how to do, Mike, was I wanted you to know I'm going to go do it. It's going to be okay. Good, bad, indifferent. It goes good, it goes bad. I'm going to be fine. Like, I needed to help alleviate your fear.
Right.
Like when we met, Mike, I could see the fear in your eyes. And wait a minute, I'm going to call people up I don't know. I've never sold anything. I'm going to go to their house. I've never sold anything. I wasn't raised by businessmen or businesswomen. I don't know anything about business. And you're going to ask me to get in my car, go out, sit in their room. I don't have any life insurance. At this point, you didn't have any kid. Like, I saw it, Mike.
Right.
So how do I alleviate the fear? I can't just go like this. Hey, Mike, please don't be. Hey, Mike, read this book. Please don't be. Mike, go to this training. Please don't be. Please, Mike, get in this boot camp. Please don't be. Mike, talk to Tom. Please. That's all fine. And it doesn't mean that's not going to help additionally, but I just go do it.
Right.
I go, hey, I'm just going to go do it. Like, I'm going to show you what we do. Let's go do it, bro. We're in it together, man. I'm here with you. Like, I want to be able to eradicate that fear that you have. And what is the fear usually? Fear of failure.
Right.
Like we're afraid to fail. Like, and by the way, failing's okay. Like, let's go face first, fall down, get back up, fall down, get back up. So And I think the convention, Mike, what you're talking about is the same deal. You know, we get people that want their teams to, you know, I've said this every year and it's been right. You take the teams that have the most people at the event and look at what they do the following year.
Yep.
That's, and again, this is science.
Right.
You call it human behavior, but mathematics. I can tell you that the biggest groups, now you might go, well, they had the most people there. Of course they do. I'm like, no, they had the most attendance. The highest percentage of people on their team attended. Thus, they got the training. They got to get around people. And what happened to them? They saw people like them having success. What did that do? Eradicated their fear.
Right.
It pulled at their fear, because what we want to say we're not doing well is, here's why I'm not doing well. Look how great he is. Look what she did. Look what he does. Look what they do. No. You can do it too. Anybody sitting in that room can have the exact same result, because our business doesn't require talent. It requires hard work, resilience, attitude, all of that. But it does. But all those things are developable skills. Those skills you can develop. That's no problem. They're not talent driven. So, Mike, you're right. Get registered for convention. Get your team registered. Send them your registration. If you did the VIP because you're like, I want to do the meet and greet, they do general admission. That's cool, man. Like, just get people registered and start working on with your team right now what y'all going to do next year, where you're going to go, how you're going to get there, where y'all going to stay, because that's what we were doing, Mike.
Yep.
We're talking about that 8 months before the event, man. We're going to be sitting here. We're going to meet here, get there in the morning here. We're all going to sit together. Like, we just had a lot of camaraderie and culture, man, and it works. So
Right.
I appreciate letting me get on. Thank you for everybody that attended annual convention, all the ones that are coming back. If you missed it, don't miss it again. And thank you for what everybody's doing. You're right, Mike. This will be our year to $1 billion,
Yep.
which nobody's ever thought about doing in the history of life insurance distribution. And we're already well ahead of where anybody thought anybody could ever get. But to Mike's point, we need to just we got to keep pouring it on, man.
Yeah.
We're just getting started here at FFL.
Well, not nobody, Shawn. You said this about 10 years ago, that we would be $1 billion company one day, in a staff meeting, in a small conference room with a handful of people that are probably not even with us anymore today. But you said it then, and it just goes back to that attitude, activity, speaking things into existence, and now we're literally on the cusp of that happening. So go to fflconvention.com. Registration is live right now. These early bird specials will last for the rest of the week. We appreciate you guys checking us out. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're looking for that Dion interview, it's on Fully Loaded on YouTube. We appreciate y'all checking in. You know where to find us every week right here on The Next Level. We'll see you next week.